Welcome back to another episode of Dentistry's Growing with Grace podcast. Join Grace and her guest of the week as they discuss lessons learned in the industry and explore unique insights into ethical growth. Hi, welcome back to Dentistry's Growing with Grace. I'm so excited to be here with my new friend, Khoa. Khoa, thanks for joining me today.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, so we've taken a little break from the podcast, and I'm so excited to come back and bring new stories, new learning experiences, new lessons for anyone in business or thinking about being in business, especially in dentistry. So, Khoa, I've got some fun questions for you today that I think will absolutely help our audience in their entrepreneurial journeys. So I understand your wife is the dentist, right? And
yes, ma'am.
Tell me a little bit about your journey as a couple and what that's looked like for you.
Oh, if you want to hear that story, that might last us days. To tell you about our story as a couple that started a professional relationship, it was very challenging, to say the least. I'm very candid in saying that she and I both have super strong personalities, but we do have different ways of coming to the same solution. And that's not always a good thing. You know, I've said it before and I'll say it again. We've had shouting matches, we've had disagreements, we've thrown things at each other. I'm more so her throwing it at me and me dodging because, you know, I try not to. But it's not the healthiest. We've taken different steps to maintain it and get it back to a very healthy relationship. And ultimately, I mean, I feel like our family helped, you know, we have 3 kids, and the growth, having that experience with each other kind of brought us back to remind us why we're doing this together. But now we're in a place where we communicate so much better, so much healthier. We kind of understand each other's language and how the other person thinks. So in terms of a spouse becoming a business partner, a lot of people told us don't do it. I think it can work. I think it can work as long as you two try at it correctly.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, because I think it's like the elephant in the room in a lot of businesses is like, what role does the spouse play, and your partners, your equal partners in life. And so it takes a lot. I had a very similar experience. My husband and I tried to work together. We still work together, but we've learned what things he does, what things I do. And I've had to get really bold in saying, hey, stay out of my lane. I know what I'm doing here. And that's hard when, you know, in our dynamic, he was more the dominant, I would say partner in, I pick my battles, right? Like he's going to pick what we eat for dinner. He's going to pick if we can vacation or not. Like I kind of let him have the last say in a lot of things. But when it came to the business, I started to let that happen, and it couldn't, because it was like, it wasn't what was best for the business. So I had to take a stronger role in saying, here, you know, these are the things you're going to handle. These are the things I'm going to handle. And when you do that, it starts to work.
You hit it right on the money. I mean, we started off with saying something similar. We said, hey, the business side is mine. The clinical side is yours. Stay in your lane. But in order for us to get it to work, she had to understand some of the aspects of the business side and why I was making the decisions or wanting us to go in a certain route. And the same thing with her. She had to tell me why she was approaching certain clinical situations the way they were. You know, I can't get an oral surgeon to place 6 implants if this guy's going to kill the patient because there's a sinus right there or something like that. But that's something I had to understand from her.
Right. And it's exciting when you start to figure it out. I'm sure in any marriage, in any partnership, business partnership or marriage, you're going to have moments of disagreement that you need to work through. But in like, generally speaking, when you, just for anybody who's starting this process and still working it out, I think our collective message is it gets better. Find your lane.
It's hard. It's hard.
It's it's hard, but it gets better. It's especially hard when you have little kids and you're sleep deprived and you're
Yeah.
you got two full-time commitments going on at the same time. It can feel really hard, but eventually they're in school. You hire the right people in the business, you learn your lane and you stay in your lane and everything starts to come together. So, oh my
Completely
goodness.
agree.
Yeah. So for anyone going through it, a lot of us have been there and we can relate. So what's been some of your favorite learning experiences since getting into the business side of the dental practice?
So you kind of prepped me for that one, and to be honest with you, I thought that was the hardest one to think of because I told you I came in and I had zero dentistry experience. So I could have named all kinds of things to like learning about the clinical side. Like the other day, I learned how to put place an implant on a CBCT. You know, I thought that was the coolest thing. I'm like a nerd about it. But I want to say my most favorite learning experience is being able to find a way to successfully work with my wife as a dentist. So for me, I'm a very, very passionate person, right? When it comes to doing anything, whether it be oil and gas, whether it be banking or dentistry, I have to believe in it. I have to believe in the product I'm selling. I have to believe in the people I work with. And watching my wife's growth throughout the process has just been ultra rewarding. You know, we went from her doing your bread and butter fillings and crowns to her being confident in doing extremely difficult Invisalign cases. And now she's, you know, kind of graduating to being able to do like all on fours and the
Wow.
tougher procedures. She started doing sleep apnea because I have it and our kids have it, but it's just seeing her growth. That's like, it's mind blowing. Like even on our toughest days, I remember the growth I see and like the happiness she gets from dentistry. Like she's no longer stagnant, right? She actually believes in what she does, and it's not about the money; it's about helping people. That's my favorite part.
Honestly, anyone listening right now that owns a business or is thinking about owning a business needs to really think about that, because you're going to have days that make you go, why am I even doing this? Is this
Yeah,
even worth it? I mean,
all the time. I
business.
just thought about it yesterday. I just said that yesterday. To be honest with you.
I Any given Tuesday, I mean, you might have a moment where you're like, why am I doing this? Is so hard right now.
Yeah.
But then you get over that hump, that learning experience. And if you can look at where you started and look at how far you've come, it
Hmm.
puts those difficult moments into perspective and it keeps your mind right. Because if
Yeah.
you just start living in the challenge, living in the space of um, kind of being a victim to your business or your
You get
circumstances,
lost. You get lost. You
you
forget
get
about the big
lost.
picture. Yeah.
And then you can't grow and you can't be excited and you can't be
Yep.
like, people are going to quit. People are going to quit
All the
their
time.
job. And there's this like cultural message right now that's just so resounding that if someone quits, it's the owner's fault. They don't quit
And it's the
jobs,
end
they
of the
quit
world.
people.
Yep.
And
Yeah. Yep.
and for a long time, and I don't know if you can relate to this, but for a long time, every time someone would move on, yeah, I'd miss them. And like my first thought would be like, oh, I'm gonna miss that person. I'm sad. My second thought would be like, oh my gosh, what could I have done better? And I would be like,
Yep.
did I say something wrong? Did I do something wrong? Did I pay them enough? Did I? And I would
You
put all this
agonize
weight
and make
on
it so much. There you go. You're about
yes.
to say it. Yep.
But here's the thing. People's lives change, their goals change. Like the only constant is change. And it's not always 100% of the time your fault. It's your responsibility to
It
look for a
is.
better
It
fit,
is.
to
Yep.
be reflective, to look at what you can improve on. But it's not always your fault. And I think we go through this business owner journey carrying this huge weight. And sometimes it doesn't have to be that hard. You could go, okay, like I lost an employee yesterday. I had an employee quit yesterday. He got an opportunity that was like a multi-million-dollar opportunity for him.
How are
Come
you gonna?
on.
Yeah. How are you
Like,
gonna live
how
up
can
to
I take
that?
that personally? It's like life changes. Like people's
Yeah.
lives change. And it's not it doesn't have to be this big negative thing. It can be like a congratulations. And now we have an opportunity to bring in an even stronger fit. So
I
how
love
are we
that.
going to
So
wallow? Are we going
I
to wallow?
love the way you say that, because to me, I view that as paying it forward, right? So to give you an example, I had two dental assistant, well, one dental assistant, one front desk that's been with the dental assistant was with us for 2 years. The front desk is still with us for 2 years. The dental assistant came in and she started with us from the beginning. Her next goal was to be a hygienist. And I talked to her about it, and she received like affirmation from our patients saying that she should be a dentist. And then over the next few days, I spent time just screenshotting her numbers that dentists would make, numbers that hygienists would make. And it was like 4 times the value, right? 4 times the income. So she had to leave us because guess what? She went back to college. That was about an hour and a half drive away, but she's on the road to go into dental school. Like, I cannot fault her for that. Sure, I miss her as heck. Like, she was
Yeah.
with me for 2 years. I think of her as a little sister. My front desk right now, she is a rock star. I mean, she probably produced all of the production in our office for like the last year. I probably kind of guided her, but guess what she wants to do? She wants to go back to school to become a dentist. Heck, now I have somebody that knows how to run the business, and when she comes out, I have an associate.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, that to
But
me, that just it's so much more rewarding.
you have to go into every relationship in your life with the mindset of how can I help this person?
Yeah,
How can I make a difference, a positive difference in this person's life? And when you do that, oh my goodness, your whole perception changes. You can
yeah,
start to value, even if you have a short period of time with someone, you could start to value that short period of time instead of seeing it like
yeah.
maybe more immature Grace would have seen it like, oh, I invested so much time and energy in this person and now they're moving on. A more mature Grace can say, okay, God, and I'm a very godly person, but I could say, okay, God, who do you have next for me to learn from and to learn with and to be in this journey, walk in this journey with?
Well, I guess if
So
you and I had to talk to our younger selves, that's what we would say, right?
yeah, and that was one of my questions for you
I
is
know.
what would
I
you
was like,
tell your
oh, this
younger
is perfect. I'm gonna get to use that now.
self? So okay, so we've talked a lot about our mindset. We've talked a lot about change in the business, not beating yourself up as a business owner. What were some other moments, like maybe a couple other aha moments, if you have anything to share, um, of those learning experiences, those moments where you go, oh, I'm going to do it this way now.
So, obviously, whenever you're going into the dental field nowadays, there's so many courses that you can take, and they provide great value, and they have tidbits from each one. Our aha moment was realizing that we didn't need to follow each one to a T. Like, I mean, I'll have one that says, hey, you need to build it out exactly this way, maximize all this space. You have one that says, hey, you need to have all your systems in place, but have it this way, this way, this way, this way. What worked the best for us was we said, okay, we're going to take this, incorporate it, take this, incorporate it. And guess what? We're going to take a flyer, and instead of waiting for these steps, we're going to jump ahead a little bit and incorporate this before people say that we're ready. And that has been the difference maker for us.
I love that. It's funny because I've been educating in the dental space since, gosh, I don't even know, at least 10 years as a public speaker. And so when I'm on stage, that's one of the first things I usually say is you should be able to take a few things that you can implement right away.
Yeah.
But if everything doesn't sit right with you and what you're doing and what you're trying to accomplish, there's the trash can. Throw it out on your way out of the course. Take what you can take. I'm not God. This isn't gospel. This is
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
my experience. Take what you can take. And I find that people really appreciate that because they're able to not be in your course with a combative mindset. They're
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
more able to receive and take what's going to work for them in that setting,
Yeah.
which is
And
great.
I get that too, because a lot of people they come off that way, right? Whenever, even though it's not intended to be, it's hey, do you think I should take this course and pay X amount of dollars because it's going to be valuable? It's like, yeah, it's going to be valuable, but just don't think it's going to solve all of your problems.
Yeah. I was guilty of reading the book Extreme Ownership and then being like,
Same.
okay, if you read that book and then you apply it, you put
No,
so much freaking
too.
pressure on
Yeah.
yourself that you can't. That's why I got into this space of, oh, why did this person quit? Oh, what? And it makes you just crazy. I think it's important, and it's an important message, but any message that's not tailored to you is going to be it's going to create a deficit for you instead of an
Yeah,
advantage in some
you're
ways.
right. I
So
definitely agree.
you really have, everything has to be tailored. Um, and this kind of leads me to another, I think one of dentists in general, like I'm really like categorizing dentists, which people hate when I do this, but I work with dentists all day long. So like, of course I see trends, I see patterns, I see trends.
Yep.
So dentists sometimes early on in ownership have a hard time making decisions. And that perfectionism and deliberation process tends to sometimes lead to the point where you don't make a decision and you're unable to move forward because you're stuck in the analyzing stage. So I have a
So
lot of
that's,
clients who do this.
man. So what did we used to call that? Paralysis by
Paralysis.
analysis.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I actually so recently I posted on a Facebook thread, so to speak, and my comment was, when you're starting off, you really don't have time to calculate the ROI. And I kind of got some flack on that. They're like, what do you mean you don't have, the opportunity to calculate that? That should be the first thing you do. Like, I have 7 offices, and if I didn't do that, I wouldn't be able to be successful. I was like, hey, look, man, I'm not saying that I don't calculate it. But like I was telling you, it's like sometimes you have to take a leap of faith to take 3 steps forward and do something that's out of those steps to hopefully get there. I've calculated what that benefit could be, but a lot of it's not yet tangible, right? The value that so I'll tell you this. I decided to go take a leap in buying a piece of equipment that was probably out of our budget at the time. But the effect that I thought it was going to provide to our office was intangible. The ROI can be calculated later and can probably be quantified. But I said that would give the doctor more comfort in presenting treatment. It would increase the likelihood that the patients will accept treatment just by seeing this piece of machinery. And honestly, it's only pretty in comparison to other things. It's only pretty, But guess what? Because of that piece of equipment, in less than a year, she's gotten 18 new cases, and it's paid for itself just by collecting the lab fees of the cases.
So now we're talking about decision making and risk aversion. Now we're into risk aversion. I think that's another obstacle that holds dentists back, is the inability to take risk. And so like, I'll have a client say, what's it going to cost in this Google ad campaign in my market to bring in a new implant patient? I'm like, well, there are a lot of factors. Who's answering your phone after 3 p.m.? And do you have online scheduling? And how well trained is your front office person who's answering the phone in sales? Because it's sales, it's conversion.
It's sales, yeah.
I ask all these questions and they're like, I just want to know what it's going to cost to bring in a new patient for an implant case. Yeah. And I'm like, it could literally be $500. It could be $5,000. Yep. So here's an average. And they're like, well, I want to know exactly, if I invest $1,000 a month, how many implant cases am I going to get? And I'm like, do you think like an all-on-4 implant case, if it costed $300 to bring it in, don't you think everybody would be like, it's not that easy.
Yeah. I mean, even if they came in for the consult, doesn't mean you're going to get it.
Right. So I can give averages, but I can't like sign in blood exactly how many patients you're going to get from this thing. And so people have to always know, here's the level of risk involved in what you're doing. Implant marketing, it's a higher level of risk because it's more costly. Whereas marketing to emergency patients and new patients, it's lower risk. It's way easier, way more affordable to bring patients in that way. You can do both. You can, I mean, but you've got to run it, test it, reevaluate, have a quarterly planning
Everything is
session,
a test run. Everything is a test run.
tweak it. So, but what happens is the dentists that don't have entrepreneurial type spouses or office managers that push them, a lot of times they just can't stomach, well, how could I possibly spend $3,000 in marketing, because they're not seeing the ROI. And so then they dip their toe in, they spend 500, they get nothing, obviously. From an implant campaign with 500 isn't going to generate anything.
Yeah.
And then they go, oh, marketing doesn't work. And then they hold themselves back forever. And it's so painful.
I didn't think you were going to go there, but that's hilarious that you did. I was like, you're right. You're 100% right on that. I mean, so don't get me wrong on the guy that kind of bashed me. Like, if you're a dentist and you're able to analyze like that, like, I have no doubt that guy actually did all of the calculations and all the ROI and decided on which campaigns and did the test. Like you said, trial and error. I have no doubt there are dentists out like that can do that, and more power to them. My partner, I mean, he's kind of a do it all by himself. I hold him on such high regard because he's basically doing what my wife and I are doing together. I was like, I just can't believe there are dentists out there that can handle that type of pressure on both ends. I mean, to them, I salute them. And then there are, women doctors that are moms that do it. Like, they're even more badasses than us. My wife included,
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot that goes into being successful. If I were to kind of wrap up some of the things we've talked about, okay, we've talked about working with your spouse, which everyone needs to know, it's a challenge, but it's worth it. If you can make it work, it's worth it.
Yep.
We talked about a couple aha moments that can save some expensive mistakes related to courses and education, and not taking every word out of an expert's mouth as gospel. There, you have to learn how to make those decisions for yourself and test things. We talked about decision making, paralysis by analysis, how it holds doctors back. And we talked about risk aversion and how that holds people back. So now we're kind of talking about marketing a little bit. And I always end up there. I do.
I was going to say, that's your space, isn't it?
That's what I do. But like, for instance, I've had people run, let's say, social media marketing, specific types of ads that are more brand building initiatives, and their numbers go up, but they don't have a direct, I came from this ad. It's not like a call to action ad. It's like a long-term brand building initiative. So trying to communicate the value is tough. But what I found, what I let people do, and I think it's important, I let them run it, see how their business is doing, and then pull it and tell me what happens. And when you see the dip, then you start to recognize that there was value in that recognition. And so then it's a collective output input thing, but I do want, just for a couple minutes, tell us about your business. Tell us about, I know you've got the dental practice and you've shared a lot of great information there for anyone running a dental practice. Tell me about your other business for our viewers.
Verifix.
Yes.
So I talked to you about my partner. So his name is Dr. Sajjan Charolia. He owns a dental practice, kind of more North Houston. And he and my wife worked together in their previous associate offices. So 3 years ago, when I joined and did Restoration Smiles full time, I was in over my head. Some of the courses said, hey, if a patient is calling, or every phone call is $1 amount or a lost opportunity. So I always wanted to pick up the phones, but then I'm on the phone with an insurance company on long holds, and a patient comes in. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. So I got to a point where I hired somebody, trained that person really well in verifying insurance. And she quit on me 3 months later. I mean, she had it exactly the way I wanted. She verified it the right way. I got it to input it into the software right. And then my partner, Dr. Shirley, had the same issue. So we said, how are we going to fix this? Do you want to just go in and get like a virtual assistant and share? So that was the beginning. After that, we honestly found like some online people that eventually they didn't work either. Eventually, what we did was we found a group of people that we trained that worked out well. So we used that group for our offices, did all the test runs, see how the insurances were coming out. And it was really just for our 2 offices. And it's grown so much since then. We had our friends that own other offices here in Houston that said, hey, look, I'm running into the same problems. You guys think that, you can help us out? So, I mean, we started off with spreadsheets, all this good stuff. Now we have a portal. So the name of the company is Verifix. We have a portal where our clients can upload their patients safely, securely. Our agents will pull that information, actually get on the phone and do the verification. From there, we'll put together a full breakdown, partial breakdown, whichever one you request, put it back on the portal. That way our clients can download it to their software and actually input it. So we don't have any type of connection with their servers. We just provide that space for them to safely upload patients and download the breakdown. And then they take it to their servers and, do the inputting themselves.
Cool. So, and you said that's Verifix. And
Yes.
What's the website in case someone wants to get more information?
Right now is verifix.net.
Awesome. Verifix.net.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
We'll link to it on our podcast page. That'll be on gracerizza.com. So Khoa, thank you so much for being here with me today. I think the
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I'm really excited because I know this information is, first of all, it's going to help people to gain confidence in their journey, especially if they're early on or in a startup phase, and give them a little bit of hope that some of the challenges that they're facing are things they will get through. And just thank you so much for your openness and vulnerability, because it will make a big difference for people. So
of course, thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure. And for those of you listening, I am Grace Rizza, owner of Identity Dental Marketing and the Facebook group and podcast Dentistry is Growing with Grace. And if you ever need help with your marketing, you can reach out to me, grace@identitydental.com. Thanks so much. Have a great day.
You as well. Bye.